American Craftsman Podcast is proud to partner with Montana Brand Tools. The West was built by people with strength and great pride in their workmanship. It was a necessity that early settlers of Montana have a strong will, a resilient character, and great determination to tame the rugged landscape while adapting to its dramatic climate. That spirit, made in the USA pride and craftsmanship, is alive today, both in how Montana Brand tools are manufactured and how they perform. Montana Brand power tool accessories are manufactured utilizing proprietary, state-of-the-art CNC machining equipment and the highest quality materials available. Montana Brand tools are guaranteed for life to be free of defects in material and workmanship because we build these tools with pride and determination. Montana Brand tools are manufactured by Rocky Mountain Twist, located in Ronan, Montana. Montana Brand's heritage comes from a long line of innovative power tool accessories. Use coupon code American Craftsman for 10% off your order at montanabrandtools.com.
Well, no time like the present.
Yeah.
Back after a
hiatus.
Is it considered a 2-week hiatus or a 1-week hiatus?
Well, we didn't do it for
Last
a week, but it'll be 2 weeks since somebody's heard us. So
Right.
that's kind of like...
I guess typically we work on a 1-week hiatus.
Yeah.
We're working on a 2-week. I moved this stuff because I knocked it over. I just knocked it over again.
That's like biannually. Does that mean twice a year, or is that every 2 years? I think semi-annually means twice a year.
I don't know.
Boy, it doesn't take much to digress around here.
Welcome to episode 49 of the American Craftsman Podcast. This is not 50, right?
No.
Okay.
Would have been 50 if we would have had... There was no way to make it back last week.
We had too much going on.
Yeah.
It's definitely a challenge to carve out this couple hours every week, but
and we were working out of the area. That's that didn't help.
Yep. It's hard sometimes to schedule installs and stuff around the podcast schedule. We went almost an entire year without missing it, so.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah.
Better attendance than most people have at work.
And this is the first podcast since our first annual meetup.
Yeah, we actually we have a question in regards to that.
Oh, I can hardly wait to read that one
down here.
See, let it come as a surprise.
It's more of it's kind of a question.
More of a statement than a question?
Statement, yeah. Well, Rob just cut 150 screw eyes with bolt cutters, so we're going to get into the beer of the week. We're going to see, we have a new camera angle this week. We're shooting B-roll plus.
That's right.
So let's see.
Yeah, baby. All right. It's cold.
So let me go ahead and I'm working out the kinks here on this switching operation, camera switching. We're going to switch over. And I'll show you what we got. This is called Slush Punch Imperial Sour Ale. This is by Lone Pine Brewing Company in Portland, Maine. It's an Imperial Sour Ale with cherry, orange, pineapple, lemon, and lactose. Unfiltered, unpasteurized. Because all good things are wild and free.
I like that.
Keep refrigerated. Craft beers are better fresh. Live yeast may settle. Don't be trashy. Please drink responsibly.
I like that too. Next to the recycled thing, it says "Don't be trashy."
Let me see if I can switch this over and get. I'm gonna have to find maybe a better camera angle because this is not ideal. It smells pretty good.
It had a nice pop to it. Smells good.
Interesting color. It's like orange.
Yeah, well, it says it has that orange peel, right? Yeah, orange, pineapple, lemon.
Yeah, I don't know if those are juices.
Cherry.
There. All right, switch this camera back. What I'd like is one of those super overhead shots. I had this thing attached to that homosode up there, but it wasn't really working. I was messing around with this at like 6 o'clock this morning.
Yeah, not 5?
Slush punch. Oh,
All right.
wait. Put that there.
Yeah, let's toast this bad
Cheers.
boy up. Cheers to you. Cheers to you out there.
Damn.
Wow, that's really fruity.
That's like one of the most as advertised beers I think I've ever had. That's 7.5% alcohol too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually with all those ingredients, you don't taste them.
That tastes like fruit punch. Like almost like Hawaiian punch, but not sweet.
Yeah, I mean, I think they pulled it off.
Wow.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. You know, a lot of times these beers, like, I'm not going to lie, the other one that I bought, I had one like last week. And
that's why we're having this one today.
well, yeah, because I already had that. I just, you know, it says one thing on the can and you're like expecting it to taste like something, and it never tastes that way.
No.
This tastes exactly like it was billed.
Damn, that's refreshing.
Less sour than I was expecting.
Yeah, it's got a good amount of tartness, but not puckering.
Not like that vinegar sour
No.
that you get a lot of times, and that you know, fermentation causes that sort of vinegar kind of flavor. Anyway, we got tool of the week. As usual, I forgot the tool of the week, so I had to come up with something last minute inside my house. It's a little unorthodox. I know some of you are going to be unhappy.
Oh, not me.
Yeah, you're a new owner of one of these.
I am.
I need a spot for my goddamn paper if I'm going to be doing this camera switching. This is a Logitech Mx Ergo trackball mouse. Yeah, this camera's in a bad spot. So if you do any kind of design work on the computer, you know what it's like to sit there with a mouse for 3 hours, 4 hours, and you know, you can get fatigued and you know, you get uncomfortable because you're in the same position. The nice thing about these trackball mouses are instead of moving the mouse around, you actually move this ball around.
Yeah.
So,
even doing spreadsheets and word stuff, I find
even clicking around the internet.
Mm-hmm.
The cool thing about this is you can sort of throw this ball,
yes,
and you can throw the cursor from this corner down to the opposite corner, and I mean, it's nice. So this has a base, a magnetic base that goes in two positions: one that's kind of flat, and one that's a little more at an angle. So it's a more natural position for your wrist than sort of this
right.
What do they call
Less
it?
fatigue.
Pronation. Is it pronation or supination? I think that's pronation.
Yeah, I think it sounds right.
You know, it has, aside from the scroll ball, has, you know, your left and right click, has two settings, so you can program the mouse to be two different layouts. Has a scroll wheel that has down, left, and right buttons. Has two auxiliary buttons, which you can program to whatever. And then it has this button, which you hold. It turns it into like a fine mode. So this cursor becomes much less sensitive.
Right.
So like if you
jump.
move it, if you move it a far distance, it moves the cursor a very small distance. So if you're let's say you're pulling out measurements on SketchUp or Fusion or something, you know, you can pull more accurately.
Yeah.
If you guys understand what I'm trying to say.
You know what I like also about that kind of mouse is that you're not at the mercy of like the surface you're mousing on.
Yeah, so actually the main reason I got this is before we bought this house, the only place I had to work was literally on the couch.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had like one of those little TV trays that had the little legs. I put my laptop up on there, and so I'm working with like my hands up on this thing. And the space is only this big, and it's at an angle because I'm sitting on the couch, so the mouse is sliding off of the thing. With this, you could have it here.
Right.
And you could move between 4 monitors if you wanted, and you never have to move this mouse. You
That's
could put
one
it
of
here.
my favorite parts.
I mean, I could sit like this and control my computer off to the side. Yeah, I mean, it's great. I almost bought another one a couple weeks ago till I realized that I can just move the cursor over.
Oh, yeah.
I have the iMac set up right through the curtain over here. So, yeah. Logitech MX Ergo. They have a couple different trackball mouses. This is it's Bluetooth or it comes with a dongle. And the battery, I've charged the battery on this, I think, one time, and I've had it for, I don't know, a year maybe almost.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I think they advertise like a 3-month battery.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. It's because it's
about $100.
It's a good tool.
110 bucks.
And, even though we're woodworkers, the computer is an integral part of every job we do.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a legit tool.
And look, there's no shot of it.
Looks good on the B+ roll.
That cherry looks nice.
Then I see a Keith's opener in the background.
So, yeah, check it out. Logitech MX Ergo.
Definitely. It's easier to use and less fatiguing, too.
Yeah. Yep. It'll improve your
mousing
design game
experience.
Yeah. Well, we got a decent amount of questions this week.
Yeah.
I guess we might as well jump in head first.
Sure, why not? What tool have you purchased? Oh, God. That ended up being the biggest disappointment. This is like one of those softball pitches.
Yeah.
That's TJ Chippendale on Instagram. Do we have to be nice anymore? Or
no.
Or can we let it all hang out?
What I was going to say is, the response that TJ, if you're listening, that Luddy would have is your mom. So I just... Look how spit take.
Oh, gosh. Now you know it's live.
I hope we got good audio of that.
This is indeed live.
Oh, man. I know that's what Luddy would say and what he would want me to say, but in all seriousness, I mean, the easy answer is that, man, this beer is good.
Yeah.
Is that Oliver planer, man. We were so excited. We had wanted it for a while. And we had no plans of really buying a planer. The planer we had were great. It was an old York Craft, We
upgraded the head on it.
Yeah, with a helical head, 20-inch. And we were buying the shaper. We picked the Oliver for the price point and the fact that, it was 5 horsepower, digital readout, blah, blah, blah. It seemed like a good shaper for the money.
And we had good experience with the old Oliver joiner that was already in the shop.
Right. We had formed a relationship with Oliver also, just no sort of business relationship, but just a relationship in talking about Oliver tools and talking to them and whatever. So we ordered the shaper. Some of those planers were coming in, and they were, planers were hard to get at the time, and we really liked the idea of the fixed bed with a head that moved up and down. In theory, not knowing anything about
yes.
the engineering of the whole thing. So yeah, I mean, we had such high hope. We ended up ordering the planer too and getting them at the same time. We had such high hopes for that planer, and it just turned out to be, a total nightmare.
Yeah, it was a shambles. We spent days and days of our own time trying to finesse it and bought tools and things to triple check all the settings.
Yep.
Yeah, that was, it's not as big a disappointment because we didn't have so many of our hopes pinned on it, but the edge bander was also
the Mcguire Flex, CBC Flex, yeah.
That one didn't come through as we had hoped either.
No, you guys probably know Dino. Dino, I'm probably going to butcher your name. Koros Carpentry, inventor of the back pad. He has the Mcguire CBC, it's called, which is just like a stationary manual feed edge bander. And he had nothing but good things to say about it. He has a bunch of Mcguire tools and seemed to like them. So seemed like, hey, Dino's good. He's got these tools. He says they're good. It's got to be good.
Right.
So we ordered the CBC Flex, thinking this is going to be a more affordable option than the Conturo, and we're probably not going to use it that much. So why spend $3,500 when we can spend $1,500?
We don't edge band much.
No. Well, and it turns out now we're edge banding all kinds of shit because we got it, and we had this
because that's our way.
Yeah, we're wrapping up this big commercial job. So yeah, we got that thing, and man, was that a dud.
Yeah, that had some big gaps in the engineering of it. I felt.
I think no matter what you did, it would, at the end of the day, it still would just be a mediocre tool. Right.
Whereas the Oliver, that was kind of a lemon, I think, what we got.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like they said, they've sold however many units of that machine. If the design was no good and there was actual deflection in the head like that, then they wouldn't. They'd all
have to come back.
Right. They'd have all kinds of people all up in arms because, it was obvious. It's not like we were being nitpicky and it's like, well, this is a 2,000s thicker on this.
We couldn't use it.
We're talking about hundredths of an inch where you can, easily measurable difference in thickness.
Yeah. In woodworking terms.
Yeah, feeding. Terrible feeding. 3 1/28. I mean, that's almost a full 32nd.
Yeah, 1 1/2 64ths. That's right.
So, yeah, that Oliver planer, 20-inch planer, and Mcguire CBC Flex Edge Bander.
Yeah, and the thing with Oliver was they were all, nice and chummy with us when we were touting them, and then they kicked us to the curb when we became a thorn in their side. They didn't want to really help us.
I woke up to a notification this morning on Instagram. If a brand wants to use one of your pictures in like the store, it asks you to like give a release or whatever, and they wanted to use a picture of the planer that I
the infamous planer.
Yeah.
Looks good in photos. I mean, it's that nice baby blue.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously I unfollowed them because I just don't want to see their shit anymore because it's left such a sour taste in my mouth over the whole experience.
We still have 2 of the machines.
Yeah, I mean, the joiner is spectacular. The shaper is...
It's just a shaper.
There's nothing fatally wrong with it. It's got little quirks with it that are just stupid engineering things that...
It's like the guy who drew it up on paper to be built never used a shaper.
Yeah. It's like they just built it and they never were like, let's try this out.
Yeah.
Like, let's see if these knobs are accessible once everything else is around it.
Yes.
Where the hell was I going with that? Oh, but yeah, I was going to say, I really don't see anything. Oliver was sort of like on the come up, it seemed, before. And ever since things went south with the planer, and I feel like a lot of people maybe saw through what this whole Oliver used to be made in the USA, same quality as they used to be. I think a lot of people, maybe we opened some people's eyes, and
it's possible, yeah. And there was that whole supply chain issue, and they really dropped the ball on their end as well.
Yeah.
So there you have it, TJ.
We know how to stretch a question.
No, that was easy. That was a soft pitch. You want to read this next one from our buddy Corey?
Yeah, we got one coming in from Corey. Actually, our newest patron, Corey, CT Woodwork on Instagram. If you could teach a woodworking class, now Corey actually does teach woodworking, what would it be on?
That's a good question. I'm always going to fall back to one of those like prairie style pieces of furniture because I yet to build one.
Yep.
And I want to be a part of that. And I just like the design. I think it's something that lends itself to, you know, a student, if you will, because of its shape. You know, there's no crazy curves in it. Like Corey's doing that Maloof rocker.
Yeah.
He's got some patience, I got to tell you.
Yeah, man. I think that's like a 6-month long class.
We get tired of our students before that.
Oh, yeah. I get tired of a project after 2 weeks.
I'm going to go with like one of those Stickley Prairie settees or something, you know, a good, you know, mid-sized piece of furniture.
Yep. Now, me, I think it would be not really like a build something, like more of like I don't know. To me, one of the most overlooked things in woodworking is sort of like creating systems of how you're going to do a task and sort of like dissecting a task and figuring out what how you can do it the fastest and best way. And just sort of the thought process in that. So I think that's like something that'd be beneficial to people that they don't necessarily think about.
Right. How to be efficient in the shop.
Yeah. Like how to take, when you have a task, how to take that information and try and turn it into an effective workflow of doing whatever. It could be something super simple.
Yeah. Like where do I start and then where do I go after that?
Yeah, I mean, even like it's as simple as like screwing in those screw eyes, like positioning yourself in relation to the work and positioning the hardware in relation to the, you know, just thinking about that. I mean, you could go from something taking an entire day to you banging out in an hour,
right?
Just by like really thinking about how you're going to go about something, and you know, removing error and potential to, you know, screw things up, stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I like that. Repeatability and all that stuff. Sure.
So some a little more unorthodox and probably more difficult to try and, you know, teach because it's not as concrete of an example, you know.
Yeah, yeah. This is an interesting question from Brian, Great Point Woodworks on Instagram. Do you fill nail holes with wood filler before or after staining the wood?
Well, I'd say typically if it's something that's stained, we're gonna at all costs avoid any exposed nails. Say situations where that would be a thing. Putting crown on something like on site, putting crown on something that's stained. In that situation, we'd probably use some sort of wax.
Yeah. I like those in the nail holes. Yeah. Well, if we're doing something paint grade, that's easy. But stain.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're always going to try and go a route where there's no exposed fasteners. With like even crown on stain grade, Collins clamps, which leave a little dent, but not necessarily like it depends. Sometimes that hole could be depending on the how hard the wood is, could be bigger than like a pin nail hole. But yeah, I mean Collins clamps with a glued dowel on the back, something like that.
Right, and so that crown is an assembly that just sits up there.
Right.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to actually be nailed to something.
Yeah. And I guess that's kind of the style that we work within too. We're not applying a lot of trim to the pieces we do.
No. I mean, typically it's like it would be a crown.
Yeah.
And then we actually have like a follow-up question from Brian.
Oh.
What do you use for filler? Something shop-made, i.e. glue and sawdust, or store-bought?
Yeah, I think we've experimented with just about every single thing.
Yeah.
For nail holes, I always prefer those little wax things and then rub them out.
Yeah, for things that are already for pre-finished material.
And then we have those that for painted stuff, we have that bucket of like regular
Yeah, like
wood
either
filler.
Minwax or Elmer's or something like that. Yeah, the square container of just paint grade. They make the stains stuff too, but not as user friendly, and I feel like probably doesn't really stain that well.
Yeah, we've taken to fill in some knot holes and stuff lately. You've come up with some concoctions over there with wood glue and sawdust and things like that lately.
Yeah, what the hell was I doing that on?
Yeah, I just remember you making it up.
Yeah, I remember pulling it out of the sander.
Yeah, what was that? But that's a pretty nice old school trick.
Oh, that was that big ass table, that 12-foot long walnut countertop. Yeah, I mean, just type on 3 and sawdust.
Yeah.
Look at that. We got a refund for those things already that we just dropped off at UPS.
Nice.
Yeah. That's speedy service.
That's what I like.
Yeah, I mean, even for paint grade stuff, like if it's just like, let's say you have a seam between, I don't know, a face frame and a side of a cabinet or something, and it's painted flush. It's supposed to look like one piece. A little bit of glue, sand it. I mean, for thin little hairlines like that, I think that's a good method.
I like that better too, because the filler is really not meant for stuff like, it's not structural in that way. Sometimes it'll crack and leave a line after the fact. So we try and avoid it to begin with.
Yeah. But yeah,
everybody needs it every now and again.
Yeah. Like if something's going to be stained and it has something like that, we're definitely going to try and use glue and sanding to try and fill any small imperfection. If it's a big imperfection, then you pretty much just have to remake it.
Yeah.
Underside of a table or something, a knot hole, epoxy, black epoxy, something like that.
Yeah.
And then other than that, we, for paint grade, use a store-bought. I'm probably going to get 7 emails because we returned 7 of those. Where's the mute button? Mute.
Corey's got another question for us.
Oh, yeah, he's got a couple.
He's asking, if they say you can never have enough clamps, how many is enough? And what types? What brands?
Yeah, they say for a project, you need all the clamps you have plus 2.
Yeah.
I'd say that we have just about enough.
Yeah.
It's a rare occasion when they're all out. It has to be like a cabinet door assembly day.
Right, like sometimes,
kitchen.
Yeah, like if we do a bunch of drawer boxes for a kitchen, like if there are 20 drawer boxes, it'll take all the clamps.
Yeah. And we have probably what, 40 K bodies?
Yeah, I think there's a dozen of the old red ones.
24s.
Yeah, and then there's 6 of the other 24s.
The Revos.
And then there's 4 of those Jorgensen pony orange ones. Those are all the 24s.
I thought those are 30s.
No, there's 36s and 24s. Okay. And then there's the 30-inch clamps. I think we got at least 10 of those. There's 2 36. There's about 10 40s. And I think there's 6 48s.
I stopped adding them up, but somewhere in that neighborhood of 50 or 60, I think.
Yeah, and then there's 8
40.
of those little gray cheapo
those
Bessies.
6, yeah, those are just taking up wall space at this point.
Those are good for. Well, those really aren't great. I mean, those are super light duty. They're not even really good.
More trouble with those than anything.
Yeah.
Like they don't. They like want to like move things around.
They're
what
are
really
they called?
Revo Junior, not Revo Junior.
No, they're by Bessie and they're pseudo K bodies, but they're like super light duty.
Like you have to like turn the knob with 2 fingers.
It's like they're like the jeweler's version of the K body clamp.
Yeah, those things suck. We'll give those away with the
with our next giveaway.
Yeah. Then we have not even a dozen little squeeze clamps. Have 2 of those Dubuque 24s, which I really like those.
Yeah.
I'd like to grab some more of those. Those would be great for doing door assembly.
Yeah.
Because then you don't have this fucking door that weighs 500 pounds.
Yeah.
With 2 big Bessie clamps on it. And, they're only an inch thick, so you don't need a crazy deep
those
jaws.
probably be good for panel glue-ups, too.
Yeah. We got pipe clamps on standby. They only come in when we need to get over, 100 inches or 96 inches because we can connect the 2 K bodies.
Right.
So I guess before we get too off the literal question, how many is enough? I don't know, 40 to 50 in a shop our size.
Yeah.
And parallel clamps. Bessie is the brand that we like. And then, you want to have a couple wooden clamps, a couple squeeze clamps, some deep reach.
Those things
clamps.
come out all the time, those deep reaches.
So I guess we probably really have more like 75 clamps.
Oh, yeah, if you add up
all of them.
Yeah, we probably have, all clamps in the house, probably pushing 100.
Yeah.
But 50 of the mainstays. Couple of dozen of like half timers, and then there's a couple of dozen that are like once or twice a year.
Yeah, we have like the auto, what the hell they call those? Like the Grizzly auto thickness.
Vice
grip kind of things.
Yeah,
we got those for Deadwood because he couldn't figure out how to pocket screw things together without screwing it up.
He still couldn't do it.
So they've been sitting on the shelf.
He still couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I mean, now
we have 3 band clamps now.
Yeah,
strap band clamp, strap clamp.
I don't know what those
clamp?
are called.
I think it's a band clamp. Where it's like a ratchet strap kind of thing.
Those work great for the octagon.
Yeah, that was like a breeze. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
I hope that answered your question.
In a roundabout way.
Yeah.
You want to read this next question?
Yeah, we got one from our buddy John Peters. John Peters _ on Instagram. What size would you make a mobile assembly table / workbench?
Mobile in the shop or mobile to leave the shop?
No, in the shop, I'm assuming.
Well, we did make 2, and they're about like 3 by 4, aren't they? Something like that.
They're, I think, 30 by 48.
Yeah, that's a good size.
Yeah.
Would you go any bigger if you?
Yeah, the word assembly, like I would never call those assembly tables because
Right.
to me they're a little small.
They're more like little workstations.
Yeah, to me, like an assembly table wants to be like 4 by 8.
Yeah, I had one at one time like that, but it took up too much space.
That's the dilemma.
I don't care how mobile it is, it was always in the way.
Yeah, like the short answer is as big as you can manage.
Yeah.
If you could fit an 8 by 8 assembly table, that's better than a 4 by 8 because the only thing you have to worry about is being able to get onto the other side of your work if you have to. But, I mean, you want it to be wider than 2 feet because you're going to obviously be putting 2-foot deep cabinets on there at some point if you're building cabinets. And, if you build anything that's big, if you're not just building individual, if you're building frameless cabinets, you don't need one that's very big. But like we build big cabinets.
Yeah.
They might be 7 feet long by 24 inches deep. So you want a big table to be able to move it around and...
or a kitchen island or something like that. Those wind up being big. Or we tend to make big runs of kitchen cabinets too. Like one cabinet might fill up a whole wall.
Yeah. Like as big as can manageably be brought into the house and delivered.
We like it that way.
Because, there's no reason to make it any smaller than that.
Comes out better, installs easier.
Yeah. Uses less material.
Yeah. And I think also, you have less sharing walls, so you actually get more usable space for the client.
Yep.
So that the answer is as big as you can, afford as space-wise, really.
Yeah, I'd say 30 inches deep, and then minimum 30 by 48, I'd say.
Yeah.
Those tables that we have are, sometimes
they're not big enough for a lot of things.
They're good for
we do.
doing like little finishing and sanding and stuff like that. But assembling, a lot of times we have to go to the table saw station.
Yeah. All right. Who's this? Chris C. Zabriskie on Instagram. He wants to know if we have any tips for table saw maintenance and maybe some other tools that you typically check up on.
That beer is good.
Yeah.
I'd say that admittedly we're not very maintenance heavy people.
No, I can think of one thing off the top of my head.
Tips for table saw maintenance. You keep the cast iron nice. You can wax it. I don't know. We're more like if there's a problem, we address it. But if not, then don't. If it's not broken, don't try and fix it.
I would say for all the tools that have blades on them, keep everything sharp.
Oh yeah,
and clean.
Mm-hmm.
Sharp and clean, and that way, if something is amiss, it doesn't stay hidden until it becomes a bigger problem. You'll know if there's like a little something going on. If all of a sudden your cuts aren't coming out like they were.
Mm-hmm.
So sharp and clean. That's what I would say.
Yeah, keep an eye on your belts.
Mm-hmm.
A belt can go bad and break, and then if you don't have a replacement, then your machine is down, or it could ruin a work piece because the cutter stops suddenly.
The other thing I notice is that when you're using your machines, you get tuned into them.
Yeah.
And so you can tell if something
sounds a little weird.
Right. That's really it. Like if you're working every day on your machines, you know them. You get this. It sounds corny, but you got this relationship with them, and you'll know the sounds they make. Even passing the wood over the jointer, what it's going to feel like.
Like when your wife walks in from work, you just tell that they're pissed off at you. They don't have to say anything.
That's right.
Like, what did I do?
That's a good analogy.
Sometimes you just know.
You got that feedback, that silent feedback.
Yep.
Another good one is like when you do say something and their response gives you some sort of indication that something's not right.
Oh yeah. We better move on.
Yeah.
Next question here is from our buddy Lou.
Hey, Lou.
Alvarez Woodworking. If you could choose another era in time to live and practice your craft, which would it be and why?
Oh, man. I think about having the opportunity to live in another era more than I should.
I can't say I've really ever thought about it.
Well, there are a couple of eras that appeal to me. I like
Egyptian time, when the ancient aliens were around.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't go that far back because
your chances of staying alive are pretty slim.
Yeah, and I mean, even the times that I could think of in a romantic sense, they call for things like outdoor plumbing and things like that, which I wouldn't really be grooving on that now that I know what indoor plumbing's all about.
Only like bi-weekly bathing.
Right. So I would say the earliest I would want to go back would be, let's say, like the 20s, 1920s, when people were really spending money. And they would go, like all the rich folk would be going all over the world, and then they'd come back and they'd build these huge mansions at no expense and really ornate stuff. Not that I'm into the ornate style, but it was sort of like, let's build it. I'm not worried about what it costs.
Right. Now, do you have to stay in this time period?
Oh,
so you're coming in pre-Depression, then you got to live through the Great Depression. Peaks and valleys.
Yeah. I mean, because that's really, I think, the arts and crafts movement had just come, and it seems like a good time to be a craftsman.
I was thinking like post-World War II, 1940s.
Yeah.
Everything was sort of like opulent, stylish. You had all these really,
Art Deco movement.
Yeah. I mean, I like that sort of aesthetic. And, obviously I don't know a ton about that era, but like from what I've seen, like movies that were, based in that time period, I don't know, it just all seems kind of cool.
Yeah, very stylish.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was going to be my second choice, like post World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And those were probably good times. And,
the economy was booming at that time.
Yeah, can still go to the bathroom indoors.
Yeah. Have a car.
Fly
on an airplane.
I just watched that show, the blank that made America, and this was the tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I woke up to a text from Jamie. He's like, "Oh, the history of power tools is on."
It was Black
asleep.
and Decker, and then the guy, his name was Peterson, who started Milwaukee, and he had Ford's backing, Ford, automobiles.
That anti-Semite.
Yeah. And, like the drill, they came, it was like the first thing, and it was so huge.
Yeah, all that zinc colored.
Yeah. And so it was pretty interesting, but it did make me think, man, how fortunate we are to have the tools that we have.
Yeah. Yep.
But there was a little, as the announcer was talking in that show with the voiceovers, they were talking about how these power tools democratized
labor.
Yeah, not the labor, but like the ability to do something. And it's like now anybody can build anything. And it sort of rubbed me the wrong way. It's like, oh, that's not the difference. It's being able to use the tool.
Yeah. Just because you can't use a hand plane doesn't mean that you can use a power planer.
Right.
You're probably more likely to screw up with the power planer.
Right. So that was sort of a, one little side line of that show that really rubbed me the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
That whole DIY network. Hey, we can build our own kitchen.
And you get the flip side of like people, I heard it the other day, going on and on about these CNC things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, now try and do it by hand.
Right.
They carved a 3D skull. Okay, carve it by hand.
Right.
So you programmed it on the computer. I'm programming stuff I'm drawing things in 3D on the computer all the time.
Right.
Things that I can't make by hand.
Right.
So, like the crown on that Patek Philippe watch.
Right.
Now, Keith CNC'd that. I couldn't make that by hand. You couldn't make that by hand. Keith couldn't make that by hand. The machine did it.
Right.
I drew it on the computer. Easy breezy. You can't make it by hand.
No.
So
that's a skill.
Running a CNC, I'm sorry, it's not woodworking.
No. It's another thing.
It's completely different, yeah.
It's like pineapple on pizza. It's not pizza anymore. It's another food. It resembles pizza, but it's not pizza. Or raisins in a bagel. If you like raisins in a bagel,
I don't know. Cinnamon raisin bagel is pretty
that's
good.
fine. It's just not a bagel anymore once you stick a raisin in it.
It's a cinnamon raisin bagel.
I got to hear from the listeners out there.
Oh, unless you're from the Northeast, don't be giving any bagel opinion. Keep it to yourself. And pizza.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to get people.
I live in Florida and our pizza. Okay, shut up.
That's right.
Unless you're from New Jersey, New York, or Connecticut, don't say anything about pizza or bagels. If you're from Montreal, you can talk about bagels. Chicago, don't talk about the pizza either. We got another one from Corey here.
Thanks for the question, Lou. How do you incorporate hand tools into your everyday work in the shop? That's Corey from CT Woodwork. He wants to know.
Well, really, most typically it's whatever is going to get the job done the best way, the fastest way, easiest way, whatever.
Yeah.
But then sometimes you just want to sit at the bench and use a hand tool because you've been on the table saw all day, you've been on the joiner all day, and it's been loud and repetitive and the lack of finesse, and so sometimes you just want to use the hand tools,
chisels and planes.
Yeah, hand saws. It's woodworking, so
right. We work it in. It's like sometimes, as you say, it's a mental thing. Mm-hmm. Where it might be 6 of one, half dozen of the other, or maybe there is a little bit easier, faster way to do it with the machines in the shop, but we allow ourselves that respite to go, I want to, keep my skills sharp, sit at my bench, clear my head, get in the zone, use these nice tools that somebody, spent their time making by hand or, relatively speaking. So I think we work them in pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
while still maintaining a business.
Yeah, let's say we're working on a job and we know, these aren't hard and fast statistics that we keep up on the wall, but like we know that we're getting to the point where the job is on the tipping point of being profitable or being a break even or a loss. Yeah. Then we're gonna do it. Yeah. We're not gonna choose to take extra time to use hand tools, but when the job is going good and you have that opportunity to just, do it that way, then we do it.
Yeah, and it if we're doing a bunch of mortise and tenon doors, I always have a shoulder plane. It's like that's kind of how I always would do it. Some of them are going to be a little snug, maybe putting a little less pressure as you would pass in over the blades.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to doing these things with the shaper now.
Yeah. Yeah, man, we haven't had a
big door job in a while.
No.
So yeah, it helps us keep our head on straight.
Yeah.
Okay. This is Tom Mcguire.
Yeah.
We were just talking to Tom.
Hopefully Tom's coming by to pick up some wood this week.
Yeah, Tom, get on your horse and come over and pick up that wood. We got a guy who's looking for us.
He said maybe Friday.
All right.
Tom wants to know, what are the pros and cons of making a miter gauge crosscut jig compared to a full crosscut sled?
Well, the first one is the weight and the ease of use, I would say. The full crosscut sled, I had one for a long, long time. I was always reluctant to use it because it was so heavy.
Yep.
You'd have to plop it over onto the saw, and I'm not a big fan of it. I'll say that methodology.
Yeah, I'd say the only time I'm going for now, we have a sliding table, which is more of a miter gauge setup.
Mm-hmm.
The times that I really want a crosscut, a crosscut sled, or if I'm taking cuts in the middle of in the field of a piece, not on the end. Like if I'm have to make half lap joints in the middle of a bunch of pieces on the dado. Like I want a sled that goes on both sides of the blade, that has a fence in the back that I can, easily use like that, where the workpiece is supported on the full length, rather than hanging off on the side of a miter gauge. That's like the main difference to me between a miter gauge crosscut versus a full crosscut sled. Is a full crosscut sled, well, I guess it depends. half of the time they're on both sides of the blade.
Yeah.
Whereas a miter gauge is always on just one side of the blade.
Yeah. I love a good miter gauge. Even that Rockler branded Jessam is that was just a lucky find, you know, because I think that it was probably like $99 or something like that. And that was just one of those things that's solid.
Yep.
But that's pretty much it. I mean,
yeah, like for cutting plywood, you're probably going to want a crosscut sled.
Yeah.
If not, just use the fence on the table saw. I mean.
Yeah. I mean, as long as they are accurate, you could make either of those work.
Yeah.
That's really key. I mean, something that's not accurate or you got to wrestle with it to make the cut square, then you're wasting your time.
Yeah, I like a small, like 12 by 18 crosscut sled for just little joinery kind of stuff.
Yeah. I'm looking at this next question. It's long.
Yeah. Got a lot of details in there.
All right. You want to read that or you want me to read it?
You can read it.
All right. It's going to put
I can read it.
It's going to put my what's the word? Elocution to the test?
Electrocution?
Yeah. I put finish on a dresser and it looked great. I left town for a few days and today I came back and saw it in some sunlight and there were a few glaring splotches on the finish. I used an oil wax finish and I'm assuming it's some glue residue or a fingerprint that I did wipe over. Did I wipe over?
I just copy and pasted it. So
is the fix just sanding the area down and refinishing? Since I mostly work in the evenings in the shop, I'm wondering how I could have spotted this sooner without sunlight. Any tips? Matt, one of our good patrons, known as Hey Good Hardwoods on Instagram. So he's got a couple of questions. He wants to know how to repair a little bit of a missed spot with his oil and wax finish. And he wants to maybe know if we have a tip on how he could have spotted this sooner.
Yeah, so repair-wise, I say card scraper to get, the wax and most of the finish off, and then sand it to whatever you sanded the rest of the piece to, because you don't want it to look different. And then just, you can apply your finish back over that. If it's like, he sent pictures. I think one was on the drawer and one might have been on like the face frame. Like if it was on a rail, you might want to refinish the entire rail or the entire style, just so you don't see, because it's, it's never going to be exact. So, keep that in mind. Like if it's a door, you might just want to refinish the entire door. It's not really that much more work to go and do the entire face instead of just one little 2x2 area or whatever.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Because sometimes there are little differences as the stain is set in there.
Yeah. I mean, that's why, like, if we're doing samples, I make sure that I make the sample the same exact way that I'm gonna finish the piece, and like even right on the back of it, like, stain sat for 10 sand it to 180, stain sat for 10 minutes, and then like because finishing is like that, where the different variables of how you go about it can really change the look. It's like that last box I made, octagonal box. It's a lot lighter because I sanded it to 220 instead of 180. And then for catching those things, I mean, you can wipe mineral spirits on and see, you'll be able to see where there's any glue or anything like that. So before you put finish on anything, you can wipe it with mineral spirits and see. And
maybe get some better lighting in the shop.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, something like glue, I mean, that's hard. Because it could be, you could sand the glue off, and it still will affect the finish.
Yeah.
That's one of the issues with doing that glue and sawdust trick with stain grade, is sometimes you'll get a halo around it if you really don't. Like, you'll think that you sanded it all out of the surface, but it'll still be there.
And just so you know, Matt, I can't even count how many times I've done that.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
I mean, literally.
It's in that octagonal box.
Yeah, it happens. It happens more than I wish it did.
Yeah,
because you could get a little something on your fingers, and you touch it, and it's so tiny that you don't see it until that finish goes on. Then it's like, oh hell.
Yeah. WD-40.
Yeah. So the good answer is that the good part of the answer is it's not a difficult fix.
No. Especially with oil and wax.
Yeah. So
if it was lacquer, you'd be in a different situation.
So good for you, Matt. Have at it. Let us know how it turns out.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a nice walnut, I believe. Here's our next to last question from Corey.
Penultimate question.
Yeah. So when is the next meetup? It was great to put names to faces and talk shop.
Yeah, well, I would say once a year.
Yeah. Now it's on somebody else. Got to plan one.
That's right.
Corey, it's on you now, buddy.
Yeah. 2.5 hour drive.
Yeah.
Corey did win the long distance. Corey and his friend Bob, right? They won the long distance award for 2.5 hours coming from the island.
Yeah, that's a hike. There was a guy who was going to come up from Virginia, from like Richmond, Virginia, but
yeah, he didn't make it.
Yeah, I forget. Sorry, I forgot your Instagram name. It's so hard to keep track of everybody's different names.
It certainly was putting names to faces, and it was funny at first because you can hear everybody talking and go, is that so and so? Is that so and so?
Yeah, it was a good time. And it flew.
It did. We were there for 4 hours. Yeah.
I have to do an all-day event next time.
Yeah. So we want to have our thoughts on the beer of the week?
Yeah. Oh, wait, we got the question of the week.
Oh, yeah. We'll
rattle it off.
We pre-read the question of the week.
So this is the question of the week we'll do in the Patreon. This is from our buddy Manny.
I just read the first half of it.
When dealing with someone who always wants to give advice but can never receive it, how do you suggest handling it? From Manny, 2 Manny mistakes on Instagram.
Oh my God.
Is that a loaded question?
I have no idea what he's talking about.
Me neither. Beer of the week, Slush Punch from Lone Pine Brewing Company.
I dug it.
Yeah, I'm going to say this is probably towards the top of the list of my favorite beers that we've had.
I think the timing is right. It wasn't like a super hot day, but it was a warm day.
Smell the can now. You can really smell pineapple.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe that's what made it so good is the pineapple.
Because I probably wouldn't have if I was just in the store shopping for a beer. I'm like, no, maybe not today for this fruity beer. But boy, this was good.
Yeah. You could be in big trouble drinking these, like out in the heat.
Yeah.
At 7.5%, you could easily, crush a bunch of these.
Especially if you were drinking this out of a glass, where you could really gulp it down.
Yeah, or just like a really frosty can out of a cooler, buried in ice.
Yeah. This was good.
That was really good. Imperial Sour Ale with cherry, orange, pineapple, lemon, and lactose.
We'd give it more than 2 thumbs up if we could.
Yeah. Yeah, this is, like I said, one of the most true to advertised beers I think I've ever had.
Right, so if you're looking for something along those lines.
Yeah.
Because we've had more than a few of these, like, sort of fruit-infused, hazy. It
didn't have any of that funkiness that a lot of these beers had, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but if you want something that's juicy and
crisp,
like tart, I mean, that was really good.
Yeah. We'll have to reach out to these.
Enthusiastic thumbs up.
Yeah, we'll have to reach out to the Lone Pine boys and girls.
Yeah, now I'm interested in what other beers they have.
Yeah.
I've never heard of them or seen this beer. We had to go to the good liquor store to get it. Let's see what other kind of beer they have.
You know us. We're big on the Made in the USA. Oh, we got another. I might have to bring it in for Tool of the Week next week.
What?
We found a new USA vendor coming from Massachusetts.
Oh, yeah. Coming tomorrow. I got to confirm my age. Beers. They have a Portland Pale Ale, Brightside IPA, Tessellation Double IPA, OJ American Double IPA, Raspberry Sparkler. That sounds good. Bright, tart, and packed with fruit and citrus, yet light enough to crush on summer days.
They're big on the fruit stuff.
Well, it's just that one.
Well, they got the OJ.
Yeah, that's just 0% fruit in that. It's just orangey IPA.
I see.
OJ Craft Seltzer. Holy Donut.
Uh-oh.
They have multiples of those. 1, 2, 3.
What's the deal with the Holy Donut?
They have a dark chocolate toasted coconut Imperial Stout.
Oh, man.
A triple berry glazed double IPA. Holy Cannoli Ginger Glaze. That's not a cannoli.
You see what happens? You move out into the Northeast and
chocolate covered strawberry Imperial Stout, coffee cake Imperial Stout, blueberry glaze Imperial Stout. That's probably good.
So Holy Donut is a line of stouts.
Purple. Fresh lemon glaze Imperial Stout. Oh, Imperial Sour. Look at the color on that.
Wow.
Looks like pure caramel.
Yeah.
Dark chocolate peppermint. We got a bunch of these OJs. Pineapple tessellation.
Wow.
Guava tessellation.
What's tessellation mean?
That's, I don't know. That's their IPA, though. Mango Sparkler. That's a American Sour Ale, juicy and tart, tropical and crisp. Blueberry Sparkler, Blackberry Sparkler. T-Shirt Cannon, American IPA. Kiwi Cannon, Hawaiian, blah, blah, blah. They got a lot of different beers. I still haven't seen Slush Punch. Choco Tuesday, Imperial Stout. Maple Sunday. Hot Fudge Monday. Slush Punch, there it is. Double doses of cherry, orange, pineapple, lemon, and lactose. Cherry pie and raspberry jam. A gorgeous deep red color? I don't think so. And bursting flavor profile featuring pineapple, cherry, and lemon, cherry pie, and raspberry jam.
What's that cinnamon toasty?
Brewed with Vietnamese cinnamon and vanilla extract.
We've tried something with that. Talked about like those
waffle
things.
Thing.
Yeah, that's gonna scare me away.
Seahorse Seashell Party. Tropical Pale Ale. These guys make a lot of beer. I'm only halfway down the page.
They make one with fig. If you back up, it's right on top of Summer Stout, right? What does that say?
Fiddler.
Oh, Fiddler.
Summer Stout, Albarosa, Dargoza. Blah, blah,
Summer Stout sounds good.
Session IPA, Hibiscus Saison, Maple Brown Ale, American Stout,
Vanilla
Harvest
Stout.
Grisette. I don't even know what a grisette is. I think that has something to do with grapes. Maybe refreshing, blah, blah, blah. Maybe not. Lemon Lime Crush Puppy, Blue Raspberry Crush Puppy. Oh, man, a pulsating rendition of our favorite chili childhood drinks, crisp and light with crackling hop flavor and an addition of blueberry and raspberry.
These guys are like the Ben and Jerry's of beer.
Yeah. Then look, this is getting into their bottled stuff.
Oh man.
Man, well, we could go on and on about this. Maybe we'll continue the conversation in the question of the week.
Yeah.
The Patreon after show.
We dim the lights during the after show. I don't know if anybody really knew that.
I'll show you.
Yeah, get in the mood for that after show.
But not really. So you can't see anything now. These lights are
the
things we do to get good video.
Yeah, you guys.
Speaking of which, go watch on YouTube.
Gotta thank our patrons.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Our gold tier patrons: Jerry Greenan, David Murphy, Manny Sirianni, Dustin Fair, Adam Pothass, David Shoemaker, Colin Lai, Keith Drennan, and our newest patron, Corey Ty.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, welcome. Welcome to the club. Well, with that, we'll sign off. We'll see you guys next week, episode 50.
Yeah. 50.
See you next week.
Ciao.